Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me for another edition of Raising Vibration Radio. I'm your host, Reverend Raven, and tonight I have with me the infamous author, Beverly Banov Brown. Beverly, say hi to everyone.
Wonderful to be with you. I can't wait for our conversation to begin.
Well, it is beginning right now. We're live, and like, I want you to tell the listeners who you are. Who Beverly is.
Well, that is a very complicated question, and yet at the same time, it's really quite simple. I'm known as Beverly Banov Brown. I'm an intuitive healer, life and relationship coach, a business coach, and as you can see in the background, an abstract visionary artist. Almost all of my paintings are inspired by a near-death experience I had in 1987, almost to the day when we're doing this interview. I'm also an interfaith chaplain, and I'm the author of quite a few books, 7 of which are available now through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. But who I really am, those are all things I do. And it's not who I really am as a human being, having a very rich spiritual experience on this planet. I am soul. I believe I exist because, and we all exist because God loved us into being. So we came through our parents, our families of origin, on a physical level, but beyond that, there's much more involved, and that's part, to me, of the adventure that life really can be and is. And it's so rich and so filled with possibilities. And so that's really what motivates everything I do, to help people awaken to that knowledge that they're more than just their bodies, they're more than their circumstances, the happy, the sad, and everything in between. And that life holds incredible gifts for us if we'll only embrace them. And sometimes, depending on what we've been through, I'm a survivor of a variety of different kinds of abuse myself. And I've worked with thousands and thousands of people. I have a YouTube channel that's been seen by close to 2 million viewers now. All of it is about how to really have radical gratitude and understand that even with the challenges we've had, life is working for us. It's all a setup, in a sense, to help us identify our strengths, our gifts, our aptitudes and talents, and develop them fully, at the same time staying lovingly, benevolently hearted and intended. So that's my intention. That's what the work I do is all about. And I'm a meditator now of transcendental meditation for in September, it'll be 52 years.
Get out of town.
Yes.
You're not old enough to be doing it that long.
I started very young. And I must say that I believe that a lot of the creative flow that I have in my life is a direct result of doing so much prayer and meditation, to the point now where many days I don't need to sit in meditation for 20 minutes twice a day, because when I'm cooking or I'm cleaning or I'm taking care of my dog or I'm visiting with you, or driving a car or taking a walk in the park or by the bay, it's all a meditation.
Oh, I love and enjoy talking to you, because I know you get right out of your body when we're talking, and then spirit is talking right through you, and you're like, I'm picking up this, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. I love it.
Well, we do that for each other. We have the grace of a lovely friendship, and I, as I told you before the show went live, I just really cherish the chance to interact with you this way, because I have so much respect for who you are and what you're doing in the world.
And I feel the same way about you. I have so
Thank
much
you.
respect and so much love for you, and I'm
Thank
so
you.
grateful. You know, we met through the Time Bank here in
Yes.
St. Petersburg,
Right.
and it's been a blessing and a joy just to have you in my life. I know that if I really need something that I need to walk through, I know that I can just like send you a mental message and you get me, you know, because you'll give me a call shortly after that and you'll
Yes.
go, "What's going on?"
Well, once or twice, I think you've done the same for me. So it's a two-way street, which is always beautiful. It really is when that happens between two people.
So you said you were awful young when you started all of this. When was your aha moment? How, you know, exactly when was that?
I would have to say uh, I have a distinct memory of being a baby, and I was in
Wow.
a baby carriage where my parents had me in the park. This was in the area of Philadelphia suburbs. And it was an unusual baby carriage for its time. It had a thick uh, piece of plastic on the side. So
Mm-hmm.
there I was on my stomach, and I remember being kind of up on my elbows, as babies do. And
Right.
I lifted my head and I looked out the of this plastic to the side of me. And I saw the park, and I saw ducks and geese and swans in a pond. And then I remember flipping over on my back and looking up at the sky. And I distinctly remember having a very powerful experience of feeling oneness with all of it. And I believe that from that day on, it was, it really was my life. And it's been that way ever since. I'm going to stop for a moment, Sandy, because I'm not sure you're hearing me. Are you?
I do hear you. We have a little glitch going on, like the internet is like slow a little bit. So your
Okay.
words are not matching. It's like watching one of those Chinese movies where they
Yeah.
override the Chinese word with American.
Yes. Yes. What can we do about that? Anything?
Try moving your laptop around a little bit. Maybe it's the antenna.
All
You
right.
know,
Is this
it's
any
all,
better?
yeah, that seems it was for a second. Let's see what goes on there.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
I hear you like you're in the room with me.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So we'll continue on. You know, sometimes that happens. That's just spirit getting in the way. Mercury just came out of retrograde yesterday. So, you know, it takes a
Yes.
couple of days for it to fix up. BJ, she commented and says, radical gratitude. I love it. She wanted you to know that. And she says,
Oh,
two of my favorite women are on the broadcast right now.
well, she's one of mine also. So we've got three beautiful connections already.
Yes, yes we do. We're truly blessed by all of that. Going back to your childhood, even though you were connected to spirit at such a young age, life wasn't really that easy for you, was it?
No, no, it wasn't. My mother is a Holocaust survivor, and and my grandmother also, and she was living with us at the time I was born. So I had a very strong amount of kind of smother love going on. And along with that, they also were very cultured, very artistic, musically geared people. They loved the ballet and fine literature. So, it was a mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
But at 4 and a half, I was left with a babysitter in a New York City hotel who unfortunately was very abusive and sexually abusive. And it was such a traumatic experience that I literally had to repress it for many years. And it was only when I had my own daughter and I found that even though I am very careful about taking care of loved ones, I was doing extreme research into every potential babysitter who was going to come and take care of her. And it dawned on me that this was not how I normally did things. And then I thought, well, a new mother, and maybe that's all it is. And then I realized it was much more. And I began to realize that for all of my life up until that point, I'd had flashbacks and I really didn't understand what they were all about. And whenever I would see a piñata, I would get triggered by it. And now a piñata, in and of itself, is a beautiful thing. It's paper mache, I guess, together.
Mm-hmm.
And as you break the piñata, little gifts and toys come out for children. And the reason I was in this hotel room was that my aunt and uncle, who were two of my favorite people in the world, my parents had brought me into the city to be able to see them and have dinner with them. And then they and my parents were going to a Broadway show, a very popular one. And they were very much looking forward to this. And they had the babysitter. Apparently, that was part of the abuse involving this piñata, which my aunt and uncle had brought back to me as a gift from when they had a trip to Mexico. And there were other things, childhood traumatic situations which happened. And the point is that I really believe we've all either experienced firsthand, as I have, various kinds of abuse, and or we have experienced intergenerational inheritance of not only the gifts of our ancestors, our talents, our aptitudes, our strengths, but sometimes we've also, it's on the DNA, generation after generation, we've experienced when they've gone through wars, through oppression, through bigotry. We experience their joys as well as their sorrows. And so when you look at a newborn baby and you say, oh, there's a blank slate, there's a clean white canvas on which to paint a beautiful new life.
Right.
It's only partly true.
Right.
Because the reality is that all those joys and sorrows from the ancestors on your mother's side and on your biological father's side, it's coming in strongly with you. And the other thing, of course, is that through your mother's placenta and through your mother's heartbeat and her digestive system being the first things that you hear, the first sounds you hear in your lifetime,
right?
All that, if she had a hard time, if she was going through ambivalence about pregnancy or any unhappiness.
Okay, Beverly, we got a little glitch here and you kind of zoned out. So let's see what happens here. Let me know when you can hear me because we can't hear you. Well, we got a little technical difficulty going on. So right now until maybe she can flip her computer around. Let me see what I can do here on my end. Bev, if you can hear me, I'm going to let you go out of the studio and I need you to come back in. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay. Let me just message her. While I grab my phone, just to let you know, again, this is Mercury in retrograde. And, I know yesterday was the last day, but it does tend to tend, go past a few days while it's reversing back into normal speed again. So, it is just one of those crazy things. So she'll join us. She knows the link. She'll hit it back and come back in here in just a minute. I had a few comments while we're waiting for her to come back in. A friend of mine who's listening on the show tonight says that she's such a blessing to come across right now and that she loves her. And then my friend Kathy, who I love dearly, who is born on the same day as me, is listening to the show. We got some amazing people listening. So hopefully Bev will be back on here in just a minute. Let me grab my phone. Give me just a second here. Let's see what's going on. Let's see if I can get a message from her. Let's see here. Give me one moment. I appreciate your patience while we're doing this. Let's see here. I get to send her this link again, and I'll do it in Facebook Messenger, and hopefully she can rejoin us. Internet. You got to love the internet, right? It is a tool, but yes, it can be a pain. All right, let me just send that to her right now. And we'll get her back on here. Hopefully we can get her. Let's see. I haven't gotten a message to her on the phone. We'll do it. So I hope you guys fared through the Mercury in retrograde. I hope you didn't have much of an issue. And thank goodness it's one of 4 that we're going to have this year in 2022. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. And let's see if I can get Bev back on here. All right, give me one moment. This is the time you wish you had music to be able to play on here, some kind of meditation music that I didn't load up, so I apologize. Oh, here we go. Here comes Bev. Here we go. We'll add her back to the stream. Can you hear me?
Yes, I have no idea what happened, but my computer just went black and I just kept fiddling with it, and now I'm back.
Perfect.
So sorry for the interruption. I don't know what happened, frankly.
No, it happens. It really does. I mean, Mercury goes into retrograde. It comes back to speeding back into normal space. And the first couple of days out of it, this is like normal. I'm used to it. And this is one of 4 that we're having this year.
You're a trooper.
I know. I know. It's a good thing I have a gift of gab and just
we're nothing
on.
if not adaptable, the 2 of us, right?
Exactly.
So, where were we?
So we were talking about your experience about, your childhood and
Yes.
and what you experienced with your looking for a sitter for your daughter, because it all transferred over in the placenta and the being in the mother's womb.
Right. Well, I was saying that when you realize that you've, as so many trauma survivors or abuse survivors do, that it was so shocking and so horrible for a 4.5-year-old little person to go through in order to function. And I had been threatened apparently by the babysitter that if I ever divulged that anything had happened, there would be some dire consequence. I'm just using that as an example because you asked me about my own life. When I had the realization and I looked and said, there are reasons here beyond just wanting a great babysitter for my little daughter, which in and of itself is a very important and big responsibility. Who you're going to leave this treasure with when you have to go out. I realized that I had some work to do and I needed to uncover what this event had been. And so I did, and it's been extremely liberating for me. I also have learned in the number of years, in the last 10 years or so, that I'm also the survivor of something called vanishing twin syndrome, where you have more than one embryo in the womb with you, and only one survives. In my case, I have strong reason to believe there was another boy and girl. And so I've done a number of videos about that on my YouTube channel. It's called About Vanishing Twin Syndrome. And if you want to know more about that, and I'm also working on another book, one of many books I'm working on at the moment, about how to deal with vanishing twin syndrome. Not a lot of people know about it, and yet it's a tremendously important, very liberating thing when you realize that you're a survivor of it, because there are many seemingly unrelated symptoms which it can cause, and they don't seem to relate to anything else. And a lot of people think there's something terribly wrong with them when they're actually very gifted, very wonderfully resourceful survivors, but they don't always thrive until they find out about this. So, I would say spirituality has carried me through a tremendous amount over the years, a divorce, and, other challenges, some health challenges. But as I sit here tonight, I'm feeling like many, many beautiful miracles have happened and more to come. And
yes, they are.
I'm very, very grateful for my life, and very grateful for the opportunity to be of service to people, that my life experiences have taught me how to do them, how to be with people in a way where I can be a messenger for love and healing. It's a privilege and a joy every day.
So I know you're an author and you've written 7 books. You're going to have an 8th book out. Can you show the people that are watching right now the book that we're going to be discussing tonight? Can you hold that up?
I would love to. I don't know how well it'll show on the screen, but I can read you the name.
Yes, I can see it. It says A Prayer Companion Journal for the Recovering Codependent Soul, The Secret Path to Free Your Emotions and Make Life Easy Now. So tell us about that book.
This book is a book of, as part of a series, which includes a prayer companion journal for the empowered woman's soul, a prayer companion journal for the inspired entrepreneur's soul, because I love to do business coaching and help entrepreneurs envision what's possible for their work, which they may never have thought of before. A prayer companion journal for the narcissistic abuse survivor soul, which is, I feel, a companion piece to this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because almost invariably, so many of the people who I've worked with over the years from all over the world, if they have codependency leanings or active codependency addiction, they are targets for narcissists to prey upon. And very often they're people pleasers. Very often people who have codependent leanings want so much to have the approval of other people. And narcissists tend to spot with great accuracy, pinpoint accuracy at times.
Yes.
When somebody is wanting attention, affection, romance, money,
mm-hmm.
prestige, or just plain human companionship. They find whatever it is that you need, and they are very adept at giving it to you, and they make a play for you, and they do what's known as love bombing initially. And then very soon, once they feel they've got you in their clutches, they tend to turn on you and say whatever they know. And they're expert at finding out very quickly what is it that's going to really devastate the person. And they go for the jugular. And they often will discard you in a very unceremonious way.
Yes.
Usually after they've used you for their own purposes, for sex, for money, for compliments, to stroke their ego, because they need that constant, what I call battery supply, battery charge. They might want money. They might want a loan they have no intention or ability to repay. They might want to live with you and kind of mooch off you for long periods of time. They might want your car, your boat, your social contacts, because they're always trying to bolster themselves up by being in the company of people who they can name drop. it's not a pretty sight, and it's not a pretty situation. And part of what this book attempts to do is it has prayers and meditations with open-ended questions at the end of every chapter to help people get clarity about how codependency has shown up in their lives and how through prayer and meditation and setting a very strong intention, they can learn about boundaries, they can learn to love themselves, raise their self-esteem, and move forward in their lives without that neediness, without that urgency which codependency seems to always involve for other people's attention, time, approval. It's very liberating, and that is really why the book is called A Prayer Companion Journal for the Recovering Codependent Soul, and the subtitle is The Secret Path to Free Your Emotions and Make Life Easy Now. Because when you are in a situation, whether it's personally or professionally, where you feel that you've got to be the appeaser, that you always have to be the peacemaker, or you always have to be the one who reaches out for others, or the fixer, you're not free. You're not free personally, you're not free spiritually, because there's a dependency on someone else, and that becomes an addiction. And as we know, addictions, whether it's to a substance or a person or a situation or a place or to money or to a title, it's an addiction, and addictions are progressive, and they're kind of deadly, and they dampen your joy. And I'm all about raising the joy levels on this beautiful planet as in whatever ways I can.
So, as a professed codependent myself, you know, when I believe I'm standing up for myself or trying to get out of a situation, I feel like a narcissist person at that point.
Like, tell me a little bit about that. How does that show up in your life right now?
Like, you know, so I decide to stand up and say, hey, this is not happening anymore.
Yeah.
You're not talking.
Good start.
Right. You're not, you know, we're not going to have that. We're not doing that anymore.
Yes.
I start trying to, not try. I am focusing more on myself, but that makes me feel selfish. And isn't that narcissism is selfishness?
No, there's a big difference. The fact that you're even having the question and asking it, the fact that you think in terms of how is what I'm wanting to do going to have an impact on other people, indicates to me that what you're thinking about, what you're contemplating, is not narcissistic. It's self-preservation. It's understanding that there are boundaries in situations, whether it's at work or in a personal relationship, whether it's romantic, a friendship with a son or daughter, a mother or father, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, a neighbor. And it's important for us to feel comfortable and to feel that we are appreciating the other people involved and they are appreciating us. It's about respect. You know, there are certain basics.
Right.
So if you find yourself, for example, in a situation where you feel disrespected or that your opinion is not being honored or that you're kind of feeling invisible, people are not listening, they're not giving you the basic decency, really.
Right.
To see how bright and wonderfully creative you actually are and how giving you are. I mean, I'm saying this, not just picking it from the air. I know this because I've known you now for a couple of years and there's nothing negative to say that I'm aware of. So that's true. And so a narcissist wouldn't bother taking the time to look and have that self-reflection and say, am I being a narcissist?
Right.
Am I being a narcissist? Am I really? And, I mean, they would dismiss that because they don't care.
Right. Well,
They only
they have these
care
magazines.
about how things affect them.
Right. They
They
have
do.
these articles out there and they'll say 7 things to know if you're a narcissistic person.
Yeah. Yes.
And I can answer yes to some of those questions that they're saying, you know.
Well, Sandy, most people, or Reverend Raven, most people, and then we get into the distinction between healthy narcissism, which, believe it or not, is a real thing,
Right.
versus being on a spectrum of behavior of narcissistic traits, which really are hurtful and which indicate a lack of the ability to self reflect, a lack of the ability to be genuinely empathetic, to really care about how other people are, and to be able to put yourself in another person's situation and realize, oh, when they lost their brother or sister or their child, that must have been a devastating loss. They wouldn't feel that way. They would just, unless it's something they've actually personally been through themselves,
Right.
they'd probably just say, oh, they'll get over it. Stiff upper lip, it'll pass. They don't have the empathy, which I know you do, for example.
Right.
It's a big distinction. The other thing is, a true narcissist is constantly addicted to attention, constantly addicted to, as I referred to it before, the battery charged supply, the compliments, the strokes, oh, you're so wonderful all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't get it from one person, they're always looking to increase their stable of possibilities, because basically it's their heroin, and it's their cocaine. The attention, the affection, usually there often is, I shouldn't say usually, but there often is a sexual dimension to it. A lot of the people who are sleeping around, very promiscuous, trying to get bolstered up, reassuring themselves that they're great lovers, and equating sex with love.
Well, codependency people can do that too, though.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
I can remember in my younger days that I would equate sex with love, and I know now that that wasn't true at all.
No, it's not true. And it is, again, based on what did you learn as a child?
Yes.
Did you have what's known as a secure or an insecure attachment bonding with your primary caregivers, who I think in your case were your mother and your father?
Correct.
In many cases, it's an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent. It might be a foster parent. If a child is raised in an orphanage, they still can have very positive, loving, strong attachment bonds to a particular adult. But when that fails to happen, when there's a long separation very early in the child's life, in babyhood, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe the child was ill and had to be away at a hospital for treatment, frequently they don't get to have that attachment bond. Or if the parents are in active addiction, alcoholism, uh, gambling, shopaholism, any number of possibilities. There are so many different kinds of addictions. It's almost an infinite list. And relationship addiction, if the parent was very codependent, they might have been having an affair. They might have been unfaithful to the mate. I mean, there are just so many possibilities. I could tell you, which I would have to change the facts, of course, because of confidentiality with my clients, but I could tell you of so many different situations where children grew up in homes where they did not feel safe, where they were not allowed to have emotions,
Mm-hmm.
where all their joy was kind of tamped down.
Yep.
Sounds like you identify.
Oh, most definitely. I was told that children were meant to be seen and not heard, and to
Yes.
sit there like a dog and don't move, or I'll give you something to cry about,
Oh,
you know.
no. Oh, Sandy.
Yeah, so I can totally relate to those people that came up and were brought up in that situation.
Yes.
And if somebody were like a friend, you would go to a their friend's house, and the kid accused you of something you didn't do,
Yeah.
just to save face, they would beat the crap out of you in front of the other parents,
Oh,
even not knowing the truth
yes.
of the situation.
Well, that's an abusive situation you're describing. Very
Yeah.
abusive and
Yeah.
very humiliating. And
Yeah.
what did that do to your self-esteem?
Oh, I hadn't had no self-esteem most of my life
And
because of that.
there you have the reason. And again, look at all that you've achieved in spite of it.
Yes.
Look at all the beautiful things that you brought into your life, including your son, and so many incredible friendships and relationships, and
Yes.
it goes on, and you're not done yet,
No.
which is exciting in itself. But
Nope.
but the point is that that's the kind of background which so many people survived, which is a credit to them. And sometimes they became very, very promiscuous because they were trying to get the love through the physical
Contact.
connection.
Yeah.
And the sexuality was equated with love and approval. And so, very often, when I've worked with clients who have a lot of promiscuity in their background,
Mm-hmm.
usually in that first full consultation I do, which is about an hour and a half long by phone, I can get to what the core issues are, what the traumas were, and then we don't even have to ever discuss them again, because I am very committed to the fact that living through it once was bad enough. When we work on healing it, you don't have to re-experience that. You don't have to have a catharsis where you're crying and yelling and what have you. There are very gentle methods that I've been blessed to find that are just so loving, so that much of the time we laugh much more than anybody cries.
And your books help with that too, because you get a
Yes.
chance to journal and let that stuff out and let it go.
Yes, I'm very, very strongly believing in creative arts therapy. And
Mm-hmm.
as an artist, I do a lot of work with that. And as a writer, I feel very strongly that when we write about things, when we journal, when we focus our energy on going within, where all the answers reside all the time anyway, but we've got to ask. And we've got to be willing to create a space of peace and harmony where we go within, put your hand over your heart or your solar plexus or wherever you're guided, and ask, what is this really about? Let's say it's a need for approval, people pleasing.
Right.
What is it that I'm trying to receive from other people, which I need to be giving to myself? It always comes back to us. It always comes back to, who am I really? How am I showing up for myself? When certain things happen, like in my case, 4.5 years old in the hotel room, that's the little child part of me, which I have to really take care of. I have to really pay attention. And I know that if I start to feel off during the day, or I start to get worried about something, and it takes me more than 5 or 10 minutes to get back to total gratitude and faith and feeling strong and empowered, that 4.5-year-old child part of me that was stuck in the hotel room and was abused and tortured, that part of me needs to be loved and needs to be heard. And so I will literally say, even though I know I'm one person and I'm an integrated personality,
Mm-hmm.
this is a therapeutic technique that I've found to be extremely effective for myself and others. It's called reparenting. And I will ask, because I have to be the mother-father figure the perfect one that my own mother and father, no matter how much they wished they could be, they had lives, they had to earn a living, they had their own issues and baggage.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't be, and no parent can be, the ideal mother-father figure that they want to be. But we can. So that really becomes critically important. That you realize it always comes back to you. It always comes back to forgiving yourself for whatever it is that you perceive you might not have done the way you wanted to, or if a relationship didn't turn out the way you'd hoped. Forgive yourself if it wasn't the best person to choose, to interact with, or if you missed red flags that were flapping in the breeze during the relationship. You got to forgive yourself. You got to cut yourself some slack. And that's very hard for many of us to do. And I think that the older we get and the wiser we get through living experiences and seeing other people and being the witness to what's going on in the world, we can be more compassionate with ourselves, and then that fans out to everybody else. And every time we do it, your show is called Raising Vibrations. Every time you forgive yourself, every time you let go of a grievance towards somebody else, what happens?
You feel good.
You feel good. You raise your vibration.
Yes.
Because we're all energy. Everything is energy. And so the more we can allow ourselves to really zero in on, am I holding myself in a kind of crucifixion because I allowed something to go on too long, or I picked the wrong partner, or I made the wrong business decision, or a bad investment, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, it's over. It's done. Let it go. And self-forgiveness leads to self-acceptance. And when we have self-acceptance, what else do we have? We start to really feel a love, a tenderness for ourselves, an awareness of what walking miracles most of us are, because we have been through so much.
Yes.
And yet we didn't turn mean. We didn't become bitter.
No.
We're still loving. We're still kind. We're still benevolently intended every day.
No, we're not fighting over chicken wings.
We're not fighting over chicken wings. That's right. No fighting over anything, really.
Right.
But the point is, too, that we're not fighting with ourselves anymore. And that I find almost invariably with every client I've worked with over almost, I'm not kidding you now, almost 40 years.
Aww.
Self-forgiveness is one of the keys, which allows for being able to pull the camera back and look at your life and say, wait a minute, what else is possible here? How can I have more joy? How can I have more clear communication with the people I love? How can I clear out the clutter that might be in my house, my closets, my kitchen? And as you do that with loving intention, nature abhors a vacuum, so you're going to be drawing to you people who are more compassionate themselves, more accepting of themselves, and so they can be less judgmental about you. And then you wind up with these wonderful new relationships, and life just goes more smoothly. And this translates not only into your personal relationships, your relationship perhaps with your mother and father, your children if you have them, your brothers and sisters, close friends. This also has a major impact on your finances. Because if you're self-rejecting, then you're probably going to have self-sabotage going on in being able to find the kind of work where it's not just a paycheck, J-O-B, job just over broke, as people say, but it's really a fulfillment of your life's mission. And a lot of people don't allow themselves to pursue their heart dreams, I call them.
Right.
because they don't really like themselves enough to think they're worthy. And if you have undeserving beliefs that you're not worthy of the best life has to offer, you won't make the phone call. You won't follow up on the person who shows an interest in you romantically. Or you'll find fault with them and, push them away. And it's just fear in action as opposed to love in action.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, can we talk about passive aggressiveness? That's a trait of a codependent person, correct?
Well, I'll give you an example. Not too long ago, I worked with someone who had a husband who used the car a lot. And when he was in a good mood with her, he would make sure that there was always a full gas tank the next morning after he had taken the car on a long sales trip.
Mm-hmm.
But if he wasn't in a good mood with her, it would be on empty. And he knew this is a passive aggressive behavior. He knew that that would mean that she would have to get up earlier, get out to the gas station. Just a slight inconvenience, but it was his way of saying, you displeased me and I'm going to fix you.
Right.
And I could tell you 1,000 stories like that, but it makes the point. Passive aggressive personalities have a way of, again, zeroing in on what it is that's really going to get you.
Mm-hmm.
If they know you want a lot of attention and you've got something exciting going on, and you really would love to tell them and share with them, if they're going to be passive aggressive and if they're in a bad mood, they'll just sit and be checking their phone. Or they'll be starting to text because they know that annoys you. It's called phubbing. Phubbing. I have a video on that. I think it's on my series called Authentic Dating on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very insidious, very sneaky sort of way of making people miserable.
But codependent people can do that too, right? Like not meaning to do it, but they can do it in the back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
that's what they're used to.
Same. The hurtfulness of it is the same, even though the motivation may be different.
Right.
People who are very narcissistic are grand experts at passive aggressive behavior. And it's very easy for them because they don't give a damn to begin with in most cases. They're just really, you're just a convenience to them. You either suit their purposes or you're out.
Well, it's been brought to my attention. I have a tendency every once in a while to have a passive aggressive statement, and it hurts me when that's brought to my attention. Like I feel like I need to punish myself for doing that. You know what I mean? It's I don't mean to. Like here's like an example.
Okay.
I asked to speak to my boss and he said, okay. And and right before he left, I said, are we going to talk? And then he signed off and I said, I guess not. Apparently that's a passive aggressive thing to say. And I'm confused by it. And I felt bad that he brought it to my attention that was passive aggressive.
Well, it's a fine line, isn't it? Because you were expressing your disappointment.
Right.
And you were doing it in a very clipped way. And he heard that as you screwed up and now I feel disappointed. And he didn't want to hear that. And that's partly his stuff, I would imagine, and yours. So what would have been a better way to express it, possibly?
Oh, a better way would say, I hope we can talk sometime this week. I'm looking forward to it. I know you're really busy. And normally I do those kind of things, but I don't know what got into me just to say that. You know what I mean? Like, I guess not. So I have to watch myself not to come under. But I learned it from the best. My father was very narcissistic.
Uh-huh.
And and I hung around him, and I was his pushing, his punching bag, so to speak. So,
Oh.
I guess I got, I got those behaviors that I been, brought to my attention lately. Like, I need to let that go. It's
Well,
not a very coming behavior.
part of the joy of that, though, is that you're being told you're attracting into your life, apparently, people who are honest enough with you to say,
Yes.
that felt like you were being passive aggressive with me, and I don't like it. you know.
Yes.
And the other thing about that, Sandy, is I think that relationships are so, I don't want to say fragile. I think that in the last couple of years, with everything that's been going on in the wider world, a lot of people who are normally willing to kind of let things pass are feeling very edgy,
Mm-hmm.
very edgy. And so we have to be, I choose to be, I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I feel it's important to choose to be even more conscious of, before I speak to someone, asking myself, what is it I'm really trying to convey here?
Right.
How necessary is it for me to say X, Y, or Z? And if I do feel it's important, how can I express it in such a way that they're going to feel the caring and the love that I'm attempting to beam to them? And so it's a very fragile time for many people, because so many of them are feeling a loneliness and an isolation
Mm-hmm.
and fear of the uncertainty that seems to be abounding. And yet
Yes.
it's always been like that. It's just that it's more pronounced right now in many people's lives because of the many, many changes that are going on in our culture. We have to be especially compassionate with ourselves and with others, and be especially, I like to call it, mindful and heartful, to take into consideration how we can express ourselves clearly, and always be willing to hear the other person's perspective, even if they disagree with us.
Right. No, I understand that. And here's one of the things that I have done lately,
What's
because
that?
we're it kind of locked down because of the pandemic. We really don't want to get out there. My job has become my relationship, because my spouse, uh my lover, passed away. It'll be 2 years in April.
Yes,
And so,
I
and
remember.
yeah. So my work has become my relationship.
Yes.
My husband. That's basically what work is to me, is my husband.
You're married to your job
Yes.
at this time.
Yes. At this time, I have created a fictional husband with work.
And how's that working for you?
Not very well.
No.
No,
It
I
usually
do love the
doesn't.
people I help, that call in. And like, I had a widow. She just recently became a widow the other day, and I could hear it in her voice that she was
Yes.
still shaking. And it gave me an opportunity to tell her that, you're not alone,
Yes.
and take it one day at a time. And she thanked me for that reminder, because we
Absolutely.
need those reminders.
Well, again, everything is a setup to give us the opportunity to use those life experiences. Yeah, I don't believe it's an accident when someone calls you. There are a lot of other people who are possible uh, agents they could have spoken to,
Right.
but she got you, and you are yourself a survivor of being widowed, and you know what she's going through better than most people would be able to. So you could identify with her plight and her pain of loss and the enormous adjustment that she's going through. And so you were kind enough to hear beyond her words, and you empathized with her feelings.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And just like tonight, there's no mistake for you to be on here tonight,
Oh,
telling us about your book, because that book that you've created help so many people and can help anybody that's listening to this show tonight
sure.
to help them to get through I mean, I know, just speaking to you personally, and I know you do one-on-one sessions with people.
Oh, yes. I
So
do.
just speaking with you and being open and honest right now, like, my heart is vibrating so huge, and I don't feel
Absolutely.
so bad about, what I said the other day, so
Again, it's a very fluid process living this life, and we have to be, I believe very strongly, more adaptable than ever because of all the changes that are going on, because of the unpredictability in our society. And it's not a bad thing necessarily. It can actually be an opportunity to strengthen and be resilient and vibrant and not let, to a large extent, the outer world dictate your level of happiness. I believe very strongly that happiness is a decision that we make moment to moment, and no one can do it for us. I think I really believe, after working with so many people, that one of the biggest fallacies about dating, about mating, is that someone else is going to, as it said in the movie Jerry Maguire, complete me.
hmm,
Nobody needs to
no.
complete you. You're complete. I'm whole and complete. You're whole and complete. Everybody who you meet is. And sometimes people forget that. And it's when we forget that we suddenly become targets for narcissists, targets for abusers
Mhm.
of many different kinds,
Yep.
open to becoming addicted to whatever,
Yes.
whether it's shopping or uh, certain kinds of clothes or having certain kinds of gambling issues or substance abuse, relationship issues, sex issues. It's an endless list of stuff.
Yes.
And all of that happens because we're trying to put away the pain. It's an adaptation to the pain, the suffering, the traumatized aspects of ourselves that we haven't identified and healed yet. And so we have to have compassion for people who are in active addiction. And at the same time, we have to love them from a safe distance. That's the title of one of the other books I'm planning to finish soon. It's called Love from a Safe Distance, and it's about how to deal with family members and friends who are narcissists. It's kind of a companion book to a prayer companion journal for the narcissistic abuse survivor's soul. And, it goes on in terms of how critical it is to keep bringing the focus back to yourself and not do what's known as blame shifting.
Mhm.
For many people, it feels easier in the moment to say, if you had done such and such, I wouldn't be feeling this way. Well, that may be true, and that person may be a catalyst. Ultimately, though, how I respond, how you respond to whatever's going on around you is our responsibility.
Right.
And when we blame somebody else or we blame, the powers that be, what are we doing? We're giving away our power. We have to reclaim it so that we re-energize and re-empower ourselves. And that's a huge responsibility and a very big step for a lot of people. And it can be very, very scary when you realize that we truly are responsible for our own happiness and our own peace. It's an amazing realization, and I've seen the light come on in my clients' eyes and energy field when they have that moment of, oh my God, I don't have to let my mother-in-law dominate my mood. I don't have to let my adult child make me feel inferior in some way, not good enough. I don't have to please my employer all the time by taking on additional responsibilities that are way above my current pay grade. I don't have to stay in a job which I don't really feel is fulfilling anymore, if it ever was,
Right.
when I have a dream of being an entrepreneur and starting my own business and fulfilling what I really feel is my mission on earth. Everything changes as we change.
Right.
But a lot of times people are not ready to know that. They're not ready to hear that because they've been brought up with a very structured environment where decisions and choices were made for them.
Right.
And that is another thing that can often lead to codependency. That feeling of, oh my God, am I adequate to make these decisions? Can I really discern? And then you're on that awful, very weedy path, which leads to a ditch if you're not careful.
Yes.
Yes. And it sounds to me, well, the way you're responding, like you know that place.
Oh, I've been there.
Many,
I
many
mean,
people have.
yeah, because, if you're brought up by a narcissistic personality,
Yes.
they make the decisions for you. They tell you what you can and cannot do.
Yes.
They tell you that you're not good enough that you'll be lucky if somebody will marry you.
Ah,
You'll be lucky enough if you can even get a job as a clerk in a department store. Here, you see, not only was there physical abuse, but there was mental abuse. And I think the mental abuse is much harder to take than the physical. At least the physical, I don't even remember how, except one of them really bad. But the rest of them, I don't remember because they weren't that important.
but you have cellular memory of everything that's happened in your whole life.
Yes, that's true.
So it's very important to learn a variety of techniques like EFT, emotional
Hmm.
freedom techniques, otherwise known as tapping,
Yes.
which uses the meridian points in the Eastern system of healing. It's kind of an acupuncture without needles, using light, very light tapping motions on these different meridian points. And it clears the energy, the chi, which can get kind of obscured or blocked when we have various shocks to our system, which we have frequently.
Yes, we do.
You can be out in traffic and somebody can run a red light, and you could, thank God you had the intuitive feeling to stop the car and not just go with the green light, but you looked and you're relieved and you're grateful that everybody is okay and nobody got hurt. But at the same time, your system has just had a shock.
Right.
And so when your father was physically abusive, as well as, the statements you just shared with us are classic narcissistic abuse statements.
Right.
Very carefully designed by, it sounds like a really master narcissist to devastate you and make you doubt your intelligence, your attractiveness, your industriousness, all those beautiful attributes that I know you have.
I'll tell you one good one too here.
Well,
I have a sister, so he would say to us every day, I have one good daughter and I have one bad daughter.
oh no.
Every day.
So you were the scapegoat daughter, and
Yes.
she was the golden child. Is that correct?
Well, you never knew. It depended on the day.
So he went back and forth
Yes.
between you're the good one, she's the bad one.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit unusual. I must share with you. Usually, you're either the scapegoat, the black sheep,
Mm-hmm.
and you get blamed on wars that might be happening 10,000 miles away,
Mm-hmm.
or the other child is the golden child, and that one can do no wrong.
Right.
That one could rob a convenience store hold somebody at gunpoint all in the same night, and
Right.
the father would say, "What a great kid. Can't get any better than that kid. I'm so proud of him or her." It's true.
Right.
And it's just that irrational. And very often um, when you have a parent who scapegoats a child like your father apparently did to both of you at times,
Yes.
a lot of times there'll be a physical resemblance to one of his or her parents who gave them abusive behavior, who they felt they could never be able to measure up in that parent's eyes. Sometimes it's a grandparent and an uncle and aunt.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a teacher. Sometimes you might have not only a physical resemblance, but some of your personality traits may be a reminder of somebody he just could not have success with, or she couldn't have success with if it's a female. And even the golden child is set up because usually if there are other siblings, they will see that there's this tremendous discrepancy between how one is treated and the other one is treated, and they feel envious and jealous, and they look within and they say, "Why can't I,
Yep.
be given special treatment?" But it sounds like your father really was,
A master manipulator.
yeah. And what did your mother do while all this happened?
My mother was very codependent herself. She was brought up by an alcoholic stepfather,
Yes.
and she was very young when they got married, and what my dad said was the rule. So he made decisions for her too as well.
So he basically treated everybody like they were his puppets, and he was the marionette.
Yes.
Yeah, he was pulling the strings for everybody.
Yeah. And he was mentally and physically abused as a child too, though. So, I know what happened there, and my grandfather is a wonderful person. The one that, had some mental abuse, but with my father, and some physical abuse. Or
Yes.
so that's what I heard. I don't know, personally, if that's what happened.
Yeah.
But my grandfather was a very nice gentleman, though. I mean, loved a lot of people came up to me at his funeral and said, "Your grandfather was the nicest man, very giving, very
Mhm.
caring." So, I don't know. I don't know him very well because we weren't allowed to go around my grandparents at all.
Well,
Not a lot.
you see, that also often happens where in the outer world, the person is a pillar of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I have videos on all of these topics in a series on YouTube called Narcissistic Relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the codependency side, in addition to this, the book, I've got many topics discussed on a series called Codependency Revealed. So, there are different ways, some of which are absolutely free, that you can avail yourself of what we're talking about very generally tonight. But there are very specific topics that are mentioned, including authentic dating, which also describes how you can spot narcissists right on the first date, or maybe even on the phone call, so you don't even go on the date,
Right.
and just really spare yourself a potential unpleasantness, which can show up in the guise of love bombing, where they treat you like you're absolute gold for about 6 weeks to 3 months at the longest, usually. And then
Right.
they start to get super critical and nasty and sarcastic and break promises, where before that, man, if they tell you they'll be there at 7, they don't mean 7:01. They're there.
Right.
And of course, that's one of the great frustrations that clients tell me about. They say if they were so good for the 2 or 3 months, they know how to do it. So why did they suddenly turn nasty and abusive and discarding if they know so well how to be loving and caring and romantic and great lovers? And the answer is they were using you. for their
Yeah.
own purposes,
Yep.
to enhance themselves, because that's how they live and that's what they do. Total self-absorption. The only loyalty is to themselves. And even that is very sketchy sometimes, because they will often do things to self-sabotage because inside they don't like themselves
Right.
very much. There's very low self-esteem. And very often the people who seem haughtiest and most arrogant and most flamboyantly condescending to other people are people who are covering a major inferiority complex. So there are a lot of very paradoxical behaviors that go on in this. And I just want to mention something in terms of you, Sandy. Very often people who are abused hurt people, you know.
Yes.
You could have grown up to be a very bitter, nasty, sarcastic, divisive personality. And instead of that, you've gone the other way. From what I know of you, you're kind, you're loving, and you're very compassionate with people. And you want very much to help everybody around you.
Yes.
But you made a conscious choice not to be destroyed by this
Right.
early situation. And you really should give yourself an incredible amount of credit for that, because, you know, as I said, a lot of people have gone the other way. And you made a beautiful choice. And
Well, I think you need to give yourself credit for going the way you went too, because you have given so much hope and you've taught people to love themselves that were stuck not loving themselves, and just having that energy being around you and feeling that vibe. So you should commend yourself for the path that you took too, because you've helped so many people.
Thank you. Well, I hope that through the books and more YouTube videos that I'll be making and working with more clients, and really through my art as well. I'm going to be having a website strictly devoted to it soon, because a lot of people have been interested in buying the artwork through having seen them. This was not my intention, believe me, on the videos on
Right.
YouTube. So you just never know how you're going to touch people. And all of the paintings are done with a healing intention. And it kind of amazes me sometimes how people show up and tell me that something has touched their hearts, which I really didn't even know I was doing. So it just shows me that I'm a messenger. It's very humbling. A messenger of love, you know, as you are, and as your show is. And there are so many people who are doing such incredible things on this planet. So many people I know personally, so many people you know, so many people, for that matter, we know through the Time Bank.
Yes.
You know,
Thank God for BJ, our founder,
BJ
that created the Time Bank, because without her branching off and doing it, I don't know if I would have ever met you.
Oh, I just believe we would have found each other's friendship regardless. I do.
I do too.
We would have been standing online at Trader Joe's or something. Or in the park, looking at the pelicans. We would have found each other. But it's true. She is one of those people.
Yes.
Who exemplifies a real concern for the well-being of other people.
Yes.
And somebody who will go out of her way. You know, it's not always been convenient for her and for her wonderful partner, Jim. And,
yes,
you know, they made this happen in the best sense of the word made. They didn't force it.
Yes.
But they attracted people who really shared their enthusiasm for making the community, making St. Petersburg, which is already a wonderful place full of caring people. But it gave us a kind of container, you know, for communicating what needs were of the members. And
Yeah.
out of that, it's fanned out into different causes. And there goes the there goes the connection again.
Oh, it's okay though. We can still hear you. Like
Okay.
Melissa, she's listening tonight, and she's another pillar of the community that's out there helping
She
people
sure is.
too. And I'm connected to her just like you are.
Yes.
And Sari's on here too, another pillar of the community. How blessed we are to have this connection with each other.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Melissa actually is a great traveler. She loves to travel. She loves to explore the country. She's written a beautiful children's book about the Native American experience.
Okay, well, she got finally died there. So let's see if we can't get her back on. She's got kicked out of the studio. We'll have her in a minute. Also, I just wanted to share with you guys too. My friend Kathy is listening tonight from Atlanta, Georgia, and we both have the same birthday and the same year. We're the same age, and we found each other not through the time bank, unfortunately, but we found each other too as well. If you're going to connect with people, and they're supposed to be, if you got this high vibration love energy that's coming from your heart, then you're gonna attract those people into your life that's going to help you even take more opportunity to grow and to learn to love yourself. I am truly blessed by every person that is in my network right now. I am truly blessed and very thankful on a daily basis for everyone that I cross their path. Even Melissa's mother, who I haven't met in person but talked to on the phone, that helped me get through life during the pandemic. When my mate passed away right at the beginning of it, I was so blessed to have somebody call and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. I want to check on you. I want to know." So if you're loving yourself and you're expressing yourself, and you're doing something positive and you come from gratitude, the universe is going to take care of you. You're going to get exactly the people in your life when you need it at that very moment. I was so blessed to have BJ and Jim come stay with me in October. And they were such a blessing that they came back in January and they actually helped me paint my accessory dwelling out back, so to speak. So, when you are truly blessed with this high vibration love energy, you will attract everything that you need. You don't need to be sabotaging me, child. I love the people that are listening tonight. I love the little comments I'm getting. Thank you guys for sharing with me. So thank you guys so much. Hopefully Bev's going to hit that link here in just a second and get back on here. I know she can do it because she did it once before. And again, Bev has a YouTube channel too as well, that I posted in the description, that you can go and check her videos out. I've been listening to them lately. It's YouTube at Beverly Banov Brown M.S. You go and check out her YouTube videos and play them. You can get her books on Amazon. There's 7 of them. She's got an 8th one coming out. And if you feel like you're a codependent, these books are going to really help you to work through that process and be able to journal and help yourself out and read through there. And also, if you feel like you need to have a session with her, there's contact information there too as well, to get in touch with her and have a conversation with her, because she's just absolutely amazing, and you can feel her love energy coming through the most. I don't know about you, but my heart's like just vibrating like 1,000 times tonight. And I'm so grateful that she agreed to even come on the show, even though she had a little hesitance with the technology. So often technology is a frightening thing for us, but you got to step through that fear. Even though we had a little issue tonight, I know she's going to come right back on and finish up our conversation with me. If not, we will reschedule and have her on another time. So I thank each and every one of you that listen to this show. Whenever you can, you share it with your friends. You're liking that YouTube page. You're going to our guests' YouTube page and listening to them, because all they really want to do is help. That's the whole purpose of this show, is to help one person. That's it. If that's you, great. If you know somebody that can, it will help them, because that's what we're all about. The whole purpose of this is to share love and push it through and help other people get through these hard times. Because as Bev was mentioning earlier, this right now people are this heightened sense, and they're getting so upset for no reason whatsoever. Just that there's this energy out there, and they're vibrating on that energy level, and they're just taking off, and they don't mean it. They really don't. Remember, when you come across that human being, remember that their light's a little dim, and your light is bright. So just send them lots of love and energy. And here's Bev. She's coming back on. I'll add her on right now here. All right, Bev, can you unmute yourself? There you go.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Did it work?
Yes.
I have no idea. I have no idea. It just went again. Just went blank. No apparent reason. It's charged up. I have no idea why.
That's okay. We can hear you, and if you have to leave your camera off, that's fine. We'll get through there. I was just telling everybody why you were coming back. There's your camera. There you go.
I'm back.
All right.
I didn't go anywhere.
I'm just sharing people that, whenever we have these little glitches in life, we just got to keep moving forward through it and do it the best we can. So
absolutely. I have no idea, as I said, why that happened, but I think it has a little something to do with still Mercury in retrograde, because I've never had this happen before in an interview in my whole life.
It's the we're on that high flying disc, and it's just knocking you out.
That must be. The computer says, tilt.
Too much energy coming through.
All this energy, gotta take a little break there.
So what's coming up for you in the future?
Well, I am just in the process of doing the proofreading of the last few chapters of the next in the Prayer Companion Journal series. It's called A Prayer Companion Journal for the Divorce Survivor's Soul.
Ooh, nice.
I'm very excited about that book, because I know that approximately 50 or more % of marriages have ended in divorce. I am a survivor of divorce, very happily surviving divorce, I might add, thriving. And I feel that in the book, it will be a kind of focal point to help people who are in the process of a breakup, whether there's a legal marriage or not.
Right.
It will help people to deal with long-term marriages that do break up, or relationships, and help to heal the heart so that eventually you will be ready, if you choose, to find a new love. One of the other books I'm working on, which I'm almost finished with also, is I like to work on several projects at once, apparently, is called A Prayer Companion Journal for the Soulmate Twin Flame Lover Soul, which is all about how to get yourself prepared for love, healthy love, get yourself in a position to attract the person who's just really right for you, your soulmate twin flame lover, and then how to maintain a really healthy relationship throughout life. It's all about enduring and endearing love. And then there's the children's series, Windflyer, which is the first in a series which is out now. It's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And that one is about a canine angel who visits the earth and does wonderful things for all sorts of people and animals.
Aw.
Has great adventures. And I've finished one of the sequels, and I'm now in the process of finishing several others. And I have a wonderful illustrator who works with me. And we're very excited. And then I've just finished another book, which I'm in the process of editing right now, called To Be a Friend is to Love Forever. To be a friend is to love forever. And those are, I'm also a poet, so a lot of those are poetic meditations on what it is to be a friend first to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and then friend to others, and then a friend and lover to the world.
Oh my goodness, I love that. You know what came to my mind while you were saying that? And you're
What?
talking about meditation. Oh, I hope you do this. Put it on YouTube, a meditation about being my friend on
Yeah.
YouTube meditation. That would totally drop this over to the top. I love it.
Thank you. That's a wonderful idea. I'm going to have to really meditate on how to do that. Do it justice, because each friend I find is a unique entity in my life, and I in theirs. And when you meet a new friend, you just open up a whole new universe.
Yeah.
Places they've been, you haven't been. Places you've been, they have been. People you've known, life experiences they bring, and you bring to them that help to clarify and provide insights. It's quite beautiful, and I think it's really one of the things that makes life so worth living. It really
Oh,
is.
I do too. Like I want to just stay on this planet and see how many more keep just coming in. Because to me,
Yes.
you're a wealthy person just by the friends you have,
Thank
the
you.
the love. Yeah.
Well, that is an area of life where I've put a lot of energy and a lot of love and caring, and it's come back to me multiplied exceedingly in ways I couldn't have predicted. So I'm very, very conscious of the incredible importance of friendship. I really don't think I'd still be here on this planet in this body without the love and support of just so many people who stuck with me at times when things weren't so hot, and saw in me some of the qualities that I hope I'm able to bring out now. And I hope I've done that for them, because we really are all in this thing together. And when we forget that, we're cutting ourselves off from something so potentially magnificent. And yet it takes courage, because people can change, they can leave, they can die physically. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a courageous thing to love, and
Yep.
be loved.
Yeah. Death is the ultimate breakup, right?
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, 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 because I believe the soul goes on.
Yes, it does.
It really does. You know it does. You know better than most
I
people
can't
do.
help that one though. I just think that's funny.
You couldn't resist. I know. Sometimes you gotta get it in, right? I understand. Believe
Yeah.
me, I understand.
I know. I no. Death is not the ultimate breakup, because that
No.
person's with you for and for
Yes.
eternity when you hook
Yes.
up. So it's a beautiful thing.
I just I had the joy of some visitors from Miami the other day. My cousin and her husband, and I love them very much. And she and I are very close. And we were walking on the pier with her daughter and her daughter's partner. And honestly, we both kind of felt the presence of my late father and our grandmother and her parents, who I was very close to and I still feel close to. And some of them have been gone 25 years, 15, 20 years from this physical plane. And I said that to her. I said, I can just feel how their spirit, how their soul essence is aware that we're together and we're having this wonderful day. And she said to me, because I don't think she believes quite what I do, which is fine,
Hmm.
but she said to me, yes, it is amazing how, even though they have been physically gone from this plane for so long, we still feel that loving connection with them. We're still impacted so much by what was the best of them, you know. And they were human, they all had their own strengths and frailties. But what you mostly can take away is the love, the prayers, the generativity of the ancestors. You know, you don't have to only focus on maybe they had a bad temper, or maybe they could not always be emotionally available, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing the best they knew how with what they had,
Yes.
as we are. You know, however imperfectly we manage it. Well, we have really run the gamut tonight, haven't we?
Oh, I know. I love it. And I hope that you will come back on the show, especially when you finish, your book
I
and we
will.
talk about your new book. But I love having you on here. You just brightened up my day, and
Oh,
I just feel
thank
nothing
you.
but amazing love. And when you were talking just now and you were talking about our ancestors and everything, what I miss is the ritual of getting together with my family, no matter
Yes.
how they were, but
Yes.
being in the same room with them and having, what support there was. I
Yes.
had it though, still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you miss that.
Yes. How much of that do you find, even though with the situation we've had for the last couple of years, but still, there are still ways of gathering on Zoom and different ways. I meet people, friends in the park, and we go for walks. I have a small study group of two other very close friends, and we study together, and we meet in the park, and we have wonderful times. And
Oh,
to me,
yeah.
that's a kind of family feeling. It's a family of choice and extension.
Yes.
And I think you have that, and I think the St. Pete Time Bank provides that for a lot of people too.
Yes, yes, I'm so blessed to have that board meeting once a month with the
Yes,
girls, and
absolutely.
and we're growing the board. I know that we're going to have lots of board members. We're going to have a board
Yes,
of 11 people. So, I
really. Yeah.
yeah. So right now we're a board of I think 6.
Yes,
So we need 5 more. So yeah. I'm looking forward to it because I love that family connection. And these are my family members I chose to have in my life, or they let me play with them in their
yes.
sandbox.
Well, again, so many people, I hear from a lot of people through my work on social media. I get a lot of mail from people who watch the videos on YouTube. And I must say that one of the things that is a saving grace for many people now is the fact that they reach out through social media, and then hopefully a lot of them live close enough so that they can actually get together. And if they don't want to be in an enclosed environment or go to each other's houses, hopefully they live in a place where they can go for walks and the weather is cooperative.
Yes.
Maybe not in the Northeast right now, where it's
No.
so nice, but different parts of the country, and spring will come. It always does,
Yes.
and there will be warmer weather, and people will find each other. And the
So,
phone, thank God for the phone, right? All the beautiful connections we have with loved ones all over the world through the phone.
yes.
But the point is that a lot of times people are shy about reaching out, they're afraid of rejection. And I always feel like if you're coming from your heart and you reach out to another person, you'll find common ground. You'll find why it is you've been brought together. Because there's always a higher purpose and there's always a blessing. Or perhaps it's an insight you're supposed to share. Or maybe you're supposed to introduce each other to somebody else, or to a book, or to a film. You
You
never
don't know.
know. Piece of
Yeah.
music. I think that's part of the joy of life too. That the fact that when I get up in the morning, I always affirm this is a day of happier and happier surprises. And it's very rare that I don't find at least one happier and happy or surprise. Often it comes through people. Sometimes it comes through the song of the birds or time with my dog or a friend showing up who I haven't talked to in a while. A text from someone I love and haven't heard from. Or maybe I have heard from them, but they're telling me some good news about themselves. We just never know. Or a new client calling and wanting a consultation and discovering that something in my background and theirs makes us uniquely well compatible to work together. That's always a thrill for me too. It really is.
Well, thank you for that reminder that, it's all about the connection and the love
Yes.
and hooking up with each other, and
Yes.
maybe for a brief second, but we had that brief second. Or it could be for a lifetime. Who knows what it's going to be?
Absolutely. You never know. You really never know. And then other times you do. You just have a feeling.
Yes.
I was at something the other night, a study group, and a woman came in and she sat down, and I looked at her and I thought, that's somebody I really would like to know. Really, I really felt a kinship immediately. And then she opened her mouth and she smiled, really smiled.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, I know this person. This is somebody I know. And this is somebody who's a friend. But we've lost touch. And sure enough, we had an interaction because she realized she knew me too. And it turns out she's an old, long lost friend from where I used to live in the Northeast.
Wow.
She now lives in St. Pete. I now live in St. Pete. And we're going to get together and renew our friendship.
Aw,
I know. What are
I
the
love
chances?
that.
A city full of what, 300,000 people in the winter because it swells with all the snow visitors.
Yes.
And there she was, right where I was in that group. And both of us felt like this was very much supposed to happen at this particular time. So it
Wow.
is one of those happier and happier surprises.
That is a happy surprise.
Yeah.
So for my listeners, because we've run over time now, but
Okay.
for my listeners, if they want, I know the books are on Amazon, or they can go to Barnes and Nobles and
Yeah.
purchase it. But
Yeah.
what if they want to hook up with you and have a consultation with you?
That's very easy. All they need to do is email me at coachhq@gmail.com. That's the word coach, COACH. Think of Coach Headquarters. Another H, a Q @gmail.com.
I
And
love that.
if you email me and you tell me that you connected with me on the show, I'll be happy to talk with you and let me see how I can be of service to you. It'd be my honor.
Oh, thank you. You are such an angel and a blessing to all of us tonight, giving us
Thank
your
you.
time
Thank
and
you.
sharing your insight. And you really helped me out a lot too, even though it wasn't about me, it was about other people tonight. And I feel like I got the most help here tonight. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's a joy, and I so look forward to anything else I can do to be of service to you or your listeners. Anytime I can do that, it's a pleasure and an honor, really.
And your YouTube channel is YouTube.
Beverly Banov Brown M.S. for Masters of Science in Counseling. And if you just type in my name and whatever topic you're interested in, about vanishing twin syndrome, for example, authentic dating, joyful marriage, narcissistic relationships, codependency revealed, and my own personal favorite topic, radical gratitude and inner peace now. Also, there's parenting with heart, because maybe some of your listeners are parents wondering what to do with those kids.
Yes, yes, it is very critical that you do know what to do with those kids at such
With
a
those
young
wonderful
age.
kids, yes. It's not always, they don't come with an instruction manual.
No, no, they don't. No, they don't. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Raising Vibration Radio. Bev, you were such a beautiful, unexpected love joy tonight for me.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on here.
Vice versa.
All right. Good night, everyone. And be sure to join us next week for another edition of Raising Vibration Radio. Have a great week.